Hello, everybody. Dave Neal here, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Nation News. If you aren't familiar with this story I'm about to share, it's a heavy one. Clare Crawley has been in the news in the Bachelor Nation world for plenty of things over the last year. An engagement to Dale Moss, on again, off again, and as of recently, it has been reported, although they haven't commented on this, that they are no longer together. Well, just a few weeks ago, she filmed this piece for Facebook Watch, and there is a trigger warning here, so I've got this new button. I'm trying to catch up with the times, folks. Here's my trigger warning button. We're going to talk about Clare's experience in the Catholic Church, so there is a trigger warning for this story. I just wanted to let you guys all know that beforehand. If you're not in the headspace, the trigger warning is about assault, sexual assault in the Catholic Church. So she's going to share her story. One of the things we love about Clare, at least I respect, is that she talks about her anxieties. She walked us through her breast implant illness that she just realized she had, and she got her breast implants extracted. She talks about a lot of issues she's gone through in her life, and that's partly why I think we are so transfixed on the show, because we get to see real-life people overcome their own adversity, overcome their own devils, their own shame, their own imprints that they've had to just sort of like deburden themselves from. This is a really good moment for Clare. I expect it'll be a really good moment for other people who need to hear her story. So, of course, go give her a follow. You can watch the full conversation on Facebook. I'm just going to play a piece of it. And also, I'm on Instagram at DNeals. Let me know what you think. Like this video to help it get pushed along the YouTube algorithm, and subscribe. And I appreciate your comments, as respectful and sort of delicate as they should be for this conversation. I will say also, I'm experiencing some lag on the video right now. The audio seems to be fine, so the video is a little jumpy. It's not my internet, it's my computer. I'm waiting for the new MacBook to come out next month. So if you could just bear with me on that, I appreciate it. I'm trying everything I can to keep my processors up to speed. If you guys want to talk, I'll make a comment thread about this conversation in the Facebook community, Dave Neal's community. We just started it, and it's already at almost 1,000 members. So that's where people can go to really have these discussions. If there's anything you want to comment based on things Clare says here. So let's get into it. Like I said, there might be a little bit of lag. I apologize for that, but the audio should be just fine. So let's hear Clare tell her story with the sisters at the Red Table Talk, the Estefans. What a amazing little group they have here. This roundtable discussion about tough topics. Let's have a listen.
Clare Crawley's dramatic journey as the first Latina bachelorette. What you didn't know is that for decades, Clare has been privately dealing with a childhood trauma that continues to affect her today. Clare, welcome.
Thank you for having me here.
Clare, welcome. Recently, you shared a very brave thing, an Instagram post about being the child of sexual abuse.
Yeah.
I know how it was for me trying to decide to even do this show today. I didn't tell any of the producers.
You didn't?
No, she did not.
I was back there and listening to what you said, and I didn't know that.
No one knows that except my family. I wanted to deal with this subject matter because it is so important to try to prevent.
Yeah.
I also did not want to sit here quietly while you share and are brave. So the day that you were going to put that on your Instagram, on your social media, how was that thought process for you? Was there something that said, this is it, this is the moment, and I have to do it?
I'll tell you, I was scared to death.
I'm sure.
To post about it, to talk about it. I knew with sharing my journey with getting my breast implants out, it was going to open up a can of worms. And I remember sitting on the bed and telling my fiance, Dale, I want to share this. I'm ready to share this, but I'm scared. And he told me, that's even the more reason for you to share it. And he said, to make your mess your message. Robin Roberts quote.
Oh, I love that.
And
yes.
my post says, self-love is the act of giving a voice to your truth. So here is mine. As a child of sexual abuse, my young adult years were spent in unhealthy relationships, feeling unworthy of the good ones. It was a vicious cycle because the more I chose the wrong men who treated me poorly, the more I believed I wasn't good enough. Enter the breast implants. I've learned the toxicity that these implants can cause, so I'm stepping away from something that no longer serves me. We're taking it back to Claire 1.0, who is lovable and worthy just the way she is.
Wow.
I was writing that post and I walked myself through the steps of where did it start? And it really took it back to my childhood of feeling shame.
I know you haven't spoken about a lot of the details. I don't want to push you on anything. I just want to know what you would like to share, because I know it was someone that was very trusted, which happens a lot. How old were you when this happened?
I believe I was right around 5 or 6 years old. I was in first grade. And one of the biggest things in going to school for me was that I was just painfully shy. I wouldn't speak up. I would never raise my hand, to the point where if I had to use the bathroom, I would pee my pants instead of ask to go to the restroom. You know, I grew up going to a Catholic school when I was a victim of a predator.
It was a priest.
Yes. My parents looked at Catholic priests as they held him on a pedestal.
Of course.
Okay, your mother is Mexican.
Correct. It is very deep
the Catholic
in our
religion,
roots.
in the Mexican culture.
How could you not trust a priest?
could you not
Supposed
trust-
to be
Supposed
the
to be.
Yes.
purest, most trustworthy.
Yeah, and the Catholic school treated him as a counselor. My parents did the best they could and reached out for the resources they could at the time and sent me to this priest. And I don't think there was any counseling that was done. It was a one-on-one time to be a predator.
Did he threaten you?
I don't remember a threat. I remember quickly learning to love school and quickly shaping up and raising my hand and speaking up for myself, because I knew enough to know that I didn't want to sit alone in a confessional room with him anymore. And I never told my family. I never told my parents, because this was somebody you respected. They can do no wrong. This was when you didn't hear about sexual abuse in the church.
No, of course.
Nobody talked about it. So I never talked about it for years and years and years. And I think I was in 4th grade when I randomly just shared it with one of my sisters. And I don't even remember what was said, but right then she went to my mom and dad.
This used to be a taboo, at least for Latinos. And you know that. For your mom, this must have been crazy. How was it for
Because they
you?
also don't know how to deal.
When my family found out, it was,
Like, what do we do?
it was panic. And it was flipping my mom's world upside down.
I'm sure.
And how she treated me growing up was a lot different. My siblings and my sisters noticed that she did treat me differently. Maybe intentional, unintentional, I don't know.
In what way?
There was just always something in between our relationship. She was a good mother to me, but there was always just something in between. It was only a couple years ago, I finally sat down and asked her, why was it so challenging? Why did we have such a rift? And I don't know why I asked her this, but I just remember looking at her and saying, who hurt you? And she told me.
She had been abused.
And she had never shared that. And I didn't ask the details, but she just started crying and apologizing and said I didn't know how to handle it. And I think how she handled me was a reflection of how she was taught mentally to handle it.
Of course. It was
You
be quiet.
Yep,
The family doesn't need this kind of upheaval.
exactly.
Your parents sued the church.
Yes.
Get it, girl.
What happened when they sued?
The church essentially said, we'll do whatever it takes to keep this
To not
quiet.
go to court.
We will move him out of the church. But when the church said that they had moved him out of the church, they had moved him to one church over,
Another parish.
another parish.
Which is notoriously what was
A
going
fresh
on.
group of children to abuse.
Priests.
And he did it to more children. And the church allowed him, knowing that he was a predator, to perpetuate what he was doing.
Wow.
When my mother shared with the family what had happened with me and this guy, even though we didn't take him to court, one of my older aunts, that had happened, same guy, in Cuba
cycle.
when she was a child. And she had never shared
Yeah.
until the moment where my mother told her.
These predators bank on us being silent. These
Exactly.
predators bank on us not saying anything and not opening our mouth.
Absolutely.
And that gives them that power.
Yes.
And that's why after 39 years, instead of letting it affect me negatively, I thought, how do I take the power back? Because for so long, the weight that I was carrying was shame, embarrassment, feeling not worthy of the church standing up for me.
Right.
And now I thought, you know what? This is not my burden to carry anymore. What I'm going to carry is being a survivor, being proud that this is not mine to hold on to.
Exactly.
And
it wasn't it didn't have
No.
anything to do with you.
Nothing to do with
Claire,
you.
nothing to
That's
do with
the
you.
problem. It had nothing to do with you.
And today, how is your relationship with your mom? Has it changed a little?
It's changed because she has dementia and Alzheimer's now.
So she needs you now very much.
Yeah. And for some reason, it has been extremely healing for me. With her Alzheimer's and dementia, it's almost reverted her to a child. And it's allowed me to step up and be the mother to her that she never really was able to be towards me, and love her unconditionally and be there for her as much as I can. And while doing that, I just did not want to perpetuate anger or bitterness or that wall between us.
You're closing that
I
cycle.
wanted to heal that.
I'm sure it's affected your relationships
Yes.
with men and with women, I imagine.
It still affects my relationships. I had relationship after relationship after relationship that I chose with men who didn't value me because I never felt good enough. And for so long, I hated the word victim.
Right. No,
And
I
I
don't like
didn't-
that word either.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I am one.
I never felt like it. I didn't want to share it with anybody what I went through. I withheld it from relationships, even from friends, because I didn't want to be looked at as the victim of, or she's doing this because of that, or she's acting this way because of that.
Exactly.
But it was only till I shifted my mindset of like, I'm not a victim, but I'm a survivor.
And to see that you can have success and move on and have relationships. Did you expect that you were going to find true love when you did the show?
I went in having true love for myself,
Exactly.
loving myself wholly. And not only walked away with my self-love, but I walked away with a man that loves me just as deeply.
Exactly. And how soon after?
We got engaged after 12 days.
Oh,
12 days. But
That's like lesbian timeline.
what the heck? True love.
yeah, 12.
Excuse me. She said that's a lesbian timeline. Laughter can cut through tension. It can be a moment of bonding. And it's nice to see that they're able to bond as survivors, laugh, and realize that nobody's perfect. Nobody went through life with all the answers. And we all have brave faces because that's how we survive. I can't claim to ever have gone through anything that Claire has gone through. For her to talk about not wanting to perpetuate a bitterness cycle, we get the chance to learn from other people, from their mistakes, from their victimhood, from how people recovered from rubble after having been decimated. She's 39 or 40, 41 now, right? So she spent the majority of her life living with this burden, saying, I'm not going to, be defined as a victim. These are stories that we never heard on The Bachelorette. They sure would have shared them if they were out there. It's powerful. I'm surprised when she said her parents sued the church. I kind of thought the parents weren't going to be, believing of her. So good for her parents for recognizing the severity there. She said predators bank on silence. This isn't a time before social media. This isn't a time before the Catholic Church really had its reckoning with all of the lawsuits coming out. I'm always torn by this. My family, they're practicing Catholics. I have an uncle who's a practicing Catholic priest. You begin to say, well, not all priests are bad. Not all cops are bad. It takes away from the problem. The systemic problem that exists within organizations to not address the bigger picture. You've got this situation where the clergy the church would rather shuffle a priest around than get the bad press, creating way more victims because they didn't address the problems in the first place. It's a big problem, and there's thousands of stories of survivors just beginning to reckon with their own issues. How powerful of a moment for Clare to mention the empathy she felt for her own mother. And so often we see our parents as like the knowers of all info, right? And we have to remember, our parents they've done the best they could with their lot in life. And when we can come to our own parents or siblings or anyone else with empathy and knowing that they're not perfect, they didn't have everything handed to them. Clare was able to realize her mom was abused. Her mom suffers from dementia and Alzheimer's. Clare becomes the caretaker. It's a beautiful and ironic circle of life that this is how it all goes. Clare doesn't have any kids. Maybe someday she will. Maybe her goal to not perpetuate bitterness is to try to right the wrongs, right the abusive cycles. We all know that the bullies were just bullied themselves. We all know that the trolls online are hurt people. Hurt people hurt people. The fact that it's 2021 and we're having some of these conversations, that's a positive. The fact that Clare is brave enough to talk about, I mentioned this in the subreddit over here. Let's see if I can pull this up. I don't know if, I said Clare is a trailblazer in our community. I think we'll look back on and realize we didn't do her well. She isn't perfect, never claimed to be. And maybe her personality type wasn't great for a lead, but man, is she worth a follow. We might not have deserved Clare. She showed us her anxious self. She showed us her limbic flares, her ugly side. She showed us that she wasn't willing to tolerate mediocrity. She showed us what it means to be a human, not some brave pageant face that goes out there and just is perfect. She showed us the ugly sides, the good side. Another fascinating side to this video that we're watching is that she recorded this several weeks ago. I think it was recorded end of August. So since then, we know her relationship with Dale, from all accounts, is over. What the hell happened? Because she looked like she was quoting him, giving him credit for him telling her, hey, your mess is your message. The Robin Roberts quote. Maybe, and again, this is another aspect to relationships. We want forever relationships, but maybe Dale's relationship with her was meant to teach her something about her life, and then the relationship ends and she takes that to the next relationship. It doesn't mean Dale was there as some beer or the giver of all knowledge. It might have been that he had this specific key to unlock the door that she needed right then and there. So whenever we look at relationships and we wonder, oh, why didn't it last? Why didn't this work out? Just know that in that brief moment in time, when their paths crossed, they could have been a net positive and asset for each other. I don't know what happened with Dale. I don't know if he cheated or if he kept letting her down. But good on Clare for knowing, if this isn't working out, let's go. Let's find somebody else. A lot of people will comment a lot of negative things about Clare, like, oh, she asked for all this. She's attracted to this or that. She's an evolving human just like the rest of us. And my philosophy when it comes to like my spirituality is that we're all on this earth for whatever reason. I don't know how we got here. I don't know where we go after. Anyone who does is delusional if they think they actually know, because we don't. But while we're here, every circumstance we encounter, every crossroad, every hiccup, speed bump, we put those there to challenge ourselves. The world's supposed to be tough. My fiance and I always talk about things like, what if we won the lottery? And I go, that wouldn't provide me any extra happiness. I know people say, wow, it could pay off. Yeah, sure, of course. But then the next day, you're still going to have your struggles. We're meant to overcome difficult situations in this life. We're meant to overcome adversity. That's what I believe is the true victory that we face. It's not where we start, it's where we finish, how we got there. It's how we interact with others. Clare's led a difficult life. The fact that she's, I'm not calling her middle age, whatever, but the fact that she's on the next chapter of her life and she's starting to unearth all these things, the world is hers. Whatever she wants, whoever wants to listen, I'm excited to see where she goes. Let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment. We'll do a Facebook conversation as well. Comment on this video first and then take it over to Facebook if you want to go in more deep into what she's saying here. And of course, I didn't play the full video. I don't like to do that to the content creators. So I'll post a link below to the Facebook video. You can watch the whole thing. It's probably got another 10 more minutes to it. Fascinating conversation. I'm sure there'll be more to come from this. But seriously, kudos to Clare for having the brass ovaries to tell her story. All right, folks, live stream today at 4 p.m. We'll see you then. Bye now.